Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings. Now let's get straight into it. Now this is going to be part 4 of Revelation, the 20th chapter. So let's get into it. Let's get it. All right, we're going to start back at the top. But of course, since we've pretty much covered verses 1 through 3, we're going to start at verse 4 for the main part. Just want to summarize it again. So let's go. This is Revelation, the 20th chapter, starting at verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. This angel, by the way, could be Yahushua. There's no scriptures, in my perspective at least, that would be able to substantiate that. But this could be Yahushua. As we know, Yahushua was the angel that came down in Egypt to deliver the last plague with killing the firstborn there in Egypt while our people were in captivity there. But either way, what this means is this angel has the key to spiritually put a people into bondage. When I say spiritually, physical too as well. All right, but we've covered that. So let's go to verse 2. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So this was Esau, aka the so-called white man of today. All right, and him and his people are being in captivity for 1,000 years in the Middle Ages. All right, or the Dark Ages is what they call the time period from around the 4th century all the way to the 14th century. Where really it really lasted a little bit longer than that, but that's the main 1,000 years that this is in reference to here. That's when our rulership in Europe started to decline, around the time of the Renaissance, and which means rebirth, which is fitting because Esau, the so-called white man, was coming back into power. So it's fitting that time period was called the Renaissance, and that's where you had a lot of our paintings and our art, sculptures, the nose being taken off, so it would be harder to distinguish that that sculpture was fashioned after a so-called black man or woman. You had different paintings through iconoclasm, where basically they were whitewashed. You had different paintings that were just completely remodeled. It wasn't even whitewashed. They didn't go over, because that's what iconoclasm is, basically, where you have a painting and you go over it with, a whiter shade to confuse the people, basically, so you won't know that it was so-called black people depicted in that painting. But also you had paintings that were just straight up fabricated off of biblical figures, kings and queens of Europe, so on and so forth. All right, that's what happened after the end of that 1,000 years. Because anytime you have a people in rulership, they want, they want their own people to think that they were in rulership, all right, longer than what they were. So, like the old saying goes, the victor gets to write the history, right? Or something to that extent, whatever the saying is. And that's what the so-called white man did. All right, as he was coming back into rulership, he was pretty much, trying to go through and make it seem like everyone of importance was a so-called white too as well. All right, and that's what happened through this 1,000 year. At the end of this 1,000 years, after the so-called white man was delivered cast out of the bottomless pit, as we read here in verse 3. Let's get to it. And cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. So we're in that little season right now where the so-called white man, where the so-called white man has been loosed, and the 1,000 years, this first 1,000 years has been fulfilled. Okay, we're beyond that time. I know a brother was asking about if there was more than 1,000 year period, if these were the same 1,000 years mentioned in Revelation, the 20th chapter, and it's definitely not. It's definitely more than 1,000 year period here, because this period has ended. Okay, it popped off around the time of the fall of Rome, or at least the Western Roman Empire. All right, and then around the time where in the 14th century, or around the 1400s, really, around the time when Esau started coming back into power, that's when those 1,000 years were fulfilled. And we talked about that more in the first 3 installments. I'm just going back over this again, just in case brothers and sisters start from this part. So definitely watch the first 3 parts if you have not yet. All right, it says, and I also went over why I say that the devil and Satan and this dragon is referring to the so-called white man. All right, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him. Yeah, so that he couldn't be in rulership anymore and deceive the nations, because that's exactly what's happening right now. All right, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that, he must be loose a little season. Now let's go to verse 4. We finally here. All right, verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them. Now, by the way, this in verse 4, 5, and 6, verse 4, 5, and 6, this is not. So when verse 4 starts, it's not immediately after, unless you count this after he must be loose a little. Get off. After he must be loose a little season. Okay, we're in that little season now. And verse 4 is referring to when Yahushua comes back. Okay, in the 1,000-year rulership with Christ, which we're about to get into. All right. So verse 4, and I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. I believe we already got Matthew chapter 19, verse 28. All right. And then it says, and I saw the souls, because that's referring to the 12 apostles being the 12 judges of the 12 tribes of Israel. All right. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua. So you're going to have a time where the elect, all right, the children of Israel are going to be beheaded. All right, they're going to be killed. All right, in all types of fashions, especially being beheaded by guillotines. All right, because of their belief in Yahushua. That's what it means by for the witness of Yahushua. And Yahushua calls this time the Great Tribulation. In Jeremiah, it's called Jacob's trouble. All right. But it's referring to the same time period where the children of Israel, the actual children of Israel, will be persecuted just for believing in the word. All right. They're trying to get to that point right now. And they definitely trying to get to that point right now where, they're going to set that line in the sand where it's going to be known who the children of Israel are and who's actually, who's being written here in the word and who is actually about the word and who wants to keep the Most High statute, laws, and commandments, and who the Bible was originally intended for. All right, let's get Matthew chapter 5. We'll start at verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of the Most High. Verse 10. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So it's actually a good thing to be persecuted for righteousness' sake. All right, you had 2 Maccabees chapter 7, really starting at the top and, culminating around, well, really that whole chapter. And then around the 14th verse, you'll see where the Greeks at that time were persecuting this family with 7 brothers. All right. I'm sure brothers have already read that account. We would go into it, but time doesn't permit. You'll see there in that account where it was known that it's a blessed thing to be persecuted for Yahweh's sake, man. All right. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. That's exactly what they said. And they told the Greeks, for you, there'll be no resurrection. I'll probably put it on the screen. I want to get to it, but man, if we get into every single point in Revelation 20, this thing could go on, 5 to 10 more parts. I'm trying to actually cover it without going too deep where we just drag this thing out. All right, let's get verse 11. Blessed are ye, which men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Now we know this has already taken place and been fulfilled too as well. At the time where Yahushua was on the scene. Okay, and then shortly after, you had the apostles, you had the different original Christians, the actual Christians, which they were called. All right, you had those men and women being persecuted for believing in Yahushua by the different sects like the Pharisees and Sadducees. Okay, because they didn't believe in Yahushua, or who the world calls Jesus Christ. Okay, they didn't believe in Christ. So therefore, they thought they were going off. They thought that they were in idolatry, they being the believers of Yahushua. So they were persecuted at that time, but that's going to come back on planet Earth. All right, we will. When I say we, I'm not counting myself in that number. I'm saying we, as in our people, the children of Israel, will be persecuted, okay, for believing in the word. Verse 12, rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. So the prophets, a lot of them were persecuted too as well. Yahushua talked about that, how the Pharisees, basically the seed of the Pharisees, they were the ones that were persecuting the prophets. The prophets were killed just for bringing out the Most High's word, man. How wicked is that? Our people didn't want to hear it, so they got rid of the messenger. That's a shame, man, but that's Israel for us. But yeah, it's going to happen again, basically. And that's what this is going into in Revelation chapter 20, verse 4. So again, it says, and I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua. You also had John the Baptist that was beheaded too as well for the witness of Yahushua. Oh yeah, I had this. Let's pull this up real quick. So this article here says, appeals judge says guillotine probably best for executions. Ninth Circuit's dissent says lethal injections are doomed and the guillotine is quote unquote probably best. All right. A federal appeals judge issued a blistering dissent in a death row case on Monday, declaring an execution system that relies on drugs is doomed and the guillotine would be better. So a guillotine, of course, I believe, do they have a picture of a guillotine here? Brothers probably already know exactly what a guillotine is. Sorry for all this nonsense that's on the page right now, but essentially guillotine is a mechanism that has been used to basically chop off your head, execution, in an execution at least. So, there's been talks about, bringing that back because, people, especially here in this country, they like seeing executions. And when it becomes a common thing that, the Bible is hate speech and, however they're going to end up spinning it, and it becomes a wicked thing. And those of us, again, us not being myself, but just our people, those of our people that are going to stick to the word to the very end, are going to be seen as, detriment to society. All right. And they're going to want to be, the people of this society, the leaders of this society are going to want to see our people executed on the front line. All right. And they're going to use guillotines to be able to do that. All right. So there will be There will be, especially the men, more than likely, that will be beheaded just for believing in the word, man. All right. It says here in John chapter 15, start at verse 18. John 15 and 18. If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. Verse 19. If ye were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hated you. Verse 20. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they persecuted Yahushua, right? They will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also. But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. You see? So they persecuted Yahushua, and they persecute Yahushua actually on a daily basis. Okay? Not just with the physical image of Caesar Borgia, which is portraying to be quote unquote Jesus Christ, but his actual name. And when I say name, I'm not referring to Jesus either, meaning what Yahushua stands for, his reputation, because the word name not only is in reference to the physical name someone has, but what precedes that name, or your reputation, what you stand for, right? And what Yahushua stands for, which is the law, which is the word, is not being pushed at all. So he's being persecuted daily. All right. And those of our people, again, that plan on, sticking with the word to the very end, will be persecuted too as well. All right. For Yahushua's name's sake. That's just, exactly how that's going to go down. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Verse 8. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. Verse 9. But they shall serve the Lord their power, and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. So David their king there is referring to Yahushua, which is the seed of David. Okay, not actually David. I know a lot of the they call themselves quote unquote Old Testament only brothers, try to make a case for David, but the scriptures tell us otherwise. It's not going to be actually David that's going to be a king in the kingdom. It doesn't make any sense at all. All right. Old Testament only. And the designation of Old and New Testament was man-made. But you call yourself Old Testament, as in the scriptures tell you that anyways. That's going to be the Great Tribulation. Again, that Yahushua mentioned too as well in, I want to say, Revelation chapter 2, around verse 10. All right, let's go to that real quick. Revelation chapter 2 and verse 10. For none of those things which thou shalt suffer, behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried. But ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. You see that? So being faithful unto death pretty much guarantees your spot in the kingdom. That's why it says a crown of life, meaning you'll have eternal life in the kingdom, okay, by putting on the celestial body. Okay, we'll talk more about later, but that's what this is in reference to. All right, so the believers of Yahushua will be beheaded, and this will be the elect. Okay, the top of the top will be willing to give their life up, all right, their physical life up, all right, in the namesake of Yahushua. All right. Let's keep going. It says, and for the word of the Most High, which is Yahushua. Okay, Yahushua is the word. And which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image. Okay. Neither have received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. I know a brother had asked about the mark of the beast too as well. All right, we're going to get into all that. All right, first it says, in which they had not worshipped the beast. What is the beast? The beast is the Roman Empire that when I say we, at least in physically United States, but really all over the world, is this system, all right, this beast. The philosophies, the doctrines of this world is this beast. Okay. Again, the Roman Empire that was mentioned in Daniel chapter 7. All right. So it says here, Daniel chapter 7, it says vision of the four beasts. Verse 1, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Verse 2, Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. Verse 3, and four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. Okay, the sea is referring to the other nations. Okay, because all four of these beasts is in reference to another nation that's in rulership, okay, over the children of Israel. That's why, you'll see that anytime we were in rulership, that's not one of the four beasts, right? One of the four beasts is not one of the kingdoms that Israel was in rulership, of course, especially in righteousness. I mean, the Roman Empire was actually taken over by so-called blacks around, I want to say 192 AD, I want to say. All right, when the five Roman emperors, I want to say Septimius Severus, around that time, so-called black men were actually in rulership of Rome. But again, in righteousness, no. So none of the four beasts are Israel's rulership. That's why it says come up from the sea. All right, the sea meaning the other nations. All right. But again, to go back here, just to get, bring back the point, in which had not worshipped the beast. The beast is the Roman Empire. Okay. So it starts going into the first beast in verse 4, which was like a lion and had eagle's wings, which is the Babylonian Empire. But let's go to the beast in hand here, which is the fourth beast. That's the beast that's in rulership right now, starting at around verse 7. It says, after this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. All right, the Roman Empire was known to be the empire of iron, and brass. All right, it says, it devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. Okay. Or 10 kings. All right, verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn. Now in in Daniel chapter 8, that little horn is referring to Alexander the Greek. I believe so. All right, but here, this little horn is actually in reference to America. Okay, this place here, this is the little horn. All right, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. So the three of the first horns, I believe, I'm not looking at my scripts right now, but I believe that would be Spain, Spain, Britain, and France, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Spain, France, and Britain are the three horns because that's how America came into existence around the time of the American Revolutionary War. All right. That's where America gained its independence, and you had the 13 colonies. All right. They got their independence from Britain. But yeah, like I said, there's um, so many things that we can get into. But just to stick to the point here, the beast that's being mentioned in Revelation chapter 20 is this current society. All right, America. That's that little horn that came out. And by the way, America being because you may be saying, especially brothers and sisters that's newer to this information, you may be saying, I thought you said that the beast was the Roman Empire. Well, now you're saying the little horn is America. Well, it's the same thing. All right. America and Rome are the exact same kingdoms. All right. They have the same political system, pretty much. They fashion a lot of their military after the Roman Empire. America did. The list goes on. This place is just pretty much Rome. All right. The similarities there, you can go in all day on it, man. So this is pretty much Rome in this place. All right. And that's why they always talking about Rome. They even had, especially around the 4th century or so, they even had the same religion, man, which was quote unquote Christianity, which is nothing but just the hidden worship of the three main pagan deities. All right. The Father God, or the horn god, all right, the sun god, S-O-N and S-U-N, and then also the mother goddess, which they call today in the church the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Okay. The taxes, Bill of Rights was fashioned after the Roman law. The Olympics, I could go on and on. I'm just trying to throw out some things there. So that's, the similarities between the Roman Empire of old and today's society here in America. All right, but that is that little horn that came up, okay, because America pretty much is Babylon headquarters, HQ, okay, but this system is worldwide now. You understand? Because all of the nations are in league with each other. They may do all this stuff, not behind the scenes, at least in the forefront, to act like, they get into it and all that stuff, but really, they're in league with each other. The other nations are. All right. And we know that because of Psalms, the 83rd chapter. Okay. But either way, you had a mouth speaking great things. Okay, which is pretty much like the media today, speaking blasphemies. Okay, that's that little horn, aka America, speaking blasphemies, speaking great things. All right. What else did I want to grab from Daniel chapter 7? Okay, verse 17. It says it here: these great beasts, which are four kings which shall arise out of the earth. Okay. Now, like I said, the fourth beast, and it'll even tell you here, it's pretty much common knowledge. If we go to Daniel chapter 2, they pretty much, these little subtitles will tell you who the fourth beast is. You see, it says here, Rome, and the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. Okay. We can go into the toes and everything and I just want to stick to the point here. We'll have separate breakdowns on that. Okay. Do we need anything else? Let's get verse 18 and 19. I believe that's all we need here. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Once Yahushua comes back, you have the first reign or the first dominion, like in Micah chapter 4. And you have, after that, the kingdom established is going to be forever and ever. Israel will reign forever. There will never be a transference of rulership ever again. Okay, for eternity. That's why it says forever and ever. Okay. Once Yahushua comes back and clears all this mess up, it's going to be a wrap for the other nations, man. Okay. And Yahushua is not coming back to, share a chair with Joe Biden. Okay. With Mitch McConnell and them. All right. Which that boy, y'all seen he fell out again. My goodness. But he on the way out, ain't it? Anyways, Yahushua is not coming to, coming to get votes, man. Well, now he back. Y'all got to vote him in. We're going to go have a presidential election. Yahushua, a Republican. He running against Trump for 2024. Then you got Joe Biden and, whatever else freak show they plan on bringing out on the Democratic Party. No, man. Yahushua is coming. The saints is going to take the kingdom and possess it forever, even forever and ever. All right. Only one person can rule at a time. So if you're one of these people that believe in Christianity and these other demonic religions where you think it's all good for everybody and anybody can, come in and all of that. No, man. That ain't how it works. Either you on top or you on the bottom, man. Okay. That's it. When it comes to rulership, you either ruling or you're being ruled. There is no in between. All right. And that's, this spot of rulership is reserved only for one people, the saints. And the saints, according to the scriptures, all right, Psalms chapter 148, are the Israelites. And that's it. Okay. I know we went over that for a second. We just had to make myself clear there. All right. It's not what I believe or want to think. That's what the scriptures say. But anyways, it says verse 4, and which had not worshipped the beast, meaning this system. Oh, by the way, let's bring some more clarity to that too. Let's get Revelation chapter 13. We'll start at verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. Okay. Remember, sea is dealing with the other nations. Having 7 heads and 10 horns. And upon his horns 10 crowns. And upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Okay. Those 7 heads is actually dealing with the 7 hills that Rome sit on. All right. Verse 2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So you see the same animals being mentioned here, the leopard, the bear, the lion. Those are the same animals that were mentioned in Daniel, the 7th chapter, meaning this last beast, or this beast that arose out the sea, has characteristics of all the different kingdoms before it. All right. America or Rome really has, they've taken different aspects of ancient Greece, ancient Rome, ancient Babylon, ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt, and mixed it all together. Okay. That's what Esau do. He doesn't really have his own anything, man. He's a usurper. That's why he conquers lands and start calling himself after the name of the land. Because, man, that's all he got, man. He doesn't have anything of his own. He has to take and then, kind of start calling himself after the name. Why you think the so-called Jewish call themselves that? But the Most High gives you these hints where you will never hear them call themselves Israelites ever, the so-called Jewish today. Jew in itself is really a byword. Jew isn't not a biblical. It's in the Bible, of course, but it's not a biblical seed line name. All right, Israel and Israelite is an actual name of denoted to a seed line because there was a man that actually lived that was named Israel. So if you stem from the man named Israel, you are an Israelite. All right. But there was not a man named Jew. Jew is short for Judah. All right. Or the southern kingdom. And then you add on top of that Jewish. There's no such thing, really, man. That's a byword. All right. And they know that. They know deep down that they're not actually Israelites. They really know that. That's why when they doing their thing, man, they don't really feel a connection to our forefathers here in the scriptures. They know what it is. That's why they don't even believe in Yahweh Shai, man. So how are these people going to be the children of the book? They don't even believe in who is supposed to be their savior. It doesn't make any sense. But anyways, all right. That's why you have the leopard, the bear, the lion, and the dragon. Okay. Verse 3. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. So this took place in the same time period where you had the 1,000 years, where the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, was bound 1,000 years. That's that head being wounded. Okay. Where the so-called white man was taken out of rulership at the fall of Rome. Okay. But afterwards, and his deadly wound was healed. So when the so-called white man came back into rulership, when Esau was given his time to rule, because remember, Esau is the firstborn. So right now he's just giving his time to rule again because the Most High is a just God. All right. He's given his time to rule. And after that, it's a wrap. Okay. Prophecy has to be fulfilled. It was written this way all the way back in Genesis, the 25th chapter. The Most High told us that the youngest brother would serve, the eldest brother would serve the younger, excuse me. Okay, and that prophecy has to be fulfilled, man. All right. It was fulfilled once, in the dark ages, but, that prophecy is going to be fulfilled all the way into the end of time when Esau goes into captivity. But get a little ahead of myself. Just telling you how this deadly wound was healed, because basically the Roman Empire was taken out of power and then they came back into power. Okay. Again, started around the 1400s, but they came all the way into power. When I say they, the so-called white man or the Edomites, Esau, they came into they came into power fully around the late 1800s or so. That's where you had, all of the so-called blacks being exported out of Europe, which this is why you have people that think that so-called white people are from Europe or they were always there or something. If they were always there, why did they even come to America if they had their own land? They didn't have their own land, man. All right. And, most of our people, not all, but most of our people were taken out. Well, all of our people were taken out of rulership, but just in general, most of our people were taken out of Europe. So, we fell out of rulership at that time. And, Esau came back into rulership and established this second Roman kingdom. He just doesn't call this place Rome, but it's basically Rome, man. All right, prophecy tells you this. That's when the deadly wound was healed. and all the world wondered after the beast. Yeah, I mean, America is seen as this great melting pot. All right, but a lot of people are hip to America now, but especially around the early 1900s, like World War One and Two, that's where the whole world was really wondering after America, after this beast. Like, dang, they going crazy over there, man. Like like the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in WW2. I mean, these things were seen as great wonders, after this beast, man. That's all the system is, and that's why we call it to come from it. This system is a beast. All right. That's all it is. It's the world, including the major religions like Christianity. If you believe in Christianity, you believe in the beast, because that's nothing but the religion of the beast, or one of the main religions of the beast, rather, is Christianity, because they can get you to worship pagan deities all out in the open. Why do you think they have Easter and Christmas? All right. And all these different pagan holidays, which is supposed to be fashioned after, the scriptures, but there's nowhere in the scriptures to be found that we're supposed to be keeping these days. But, in Christianity, they don't teach you, at least the vast majority of Christianity, they don't teach you to keep the feast days, which the Most High commanded. Okay. They don't even teach you to keep the commandments, which the Most High commanded. Okay. They don't give you the keys to the kingdom. All right. That's how you can tell it is part of the beast system. So we're to escape it. So if you're somebody that don't know, it's something that you need to look into, man. All right. Because that deadly wound was healed. All right. And we living in it right now. All right. I mean, I could keep going, but really Revelation chapter 13 needs its own breakdown, to be honest. I'll just read verse 4 and 5. It says, "And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?" Yeah, the militia here, or the military, is great, man. Everybody, the other nations, they pretty much scared to start some stuff with America because they know they got bombs on deck, man. So who will make war with this beast? "And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies." They just constantly try to tell you that things are okay that are directly against the scriptures, and things that are directly in the scriptures are not okay, and hate speech and hate crimes and all this other stuff. Those are great things and blasphemies. That's that great mouth. All right, the media, because if you control the media, you can literally control people's minds. All right. There are people that will not do their own research. They think they are, they think they have their own thoughts, but really they're being influenced by, the internet and the media, what they say. Like most so-called black people, if you ask them, right, if you were to ask them, do they like Trump? You ask 10 so-called black people what they feel about Donald Trump. Probably 9 out of 10 of them, especially around the height of, when he first got elected and everything, probably 9 out of 10 of them will tell you that they don't like him. Okay, he's racist, this or that. But if you were to ask them more in-depth questions like, hey, what did he do specifically? They wouldn't really be able to fully break that down. Of course, by the way, I am not saying to vote for Trump. Do not. Do not vote for this beast system. Don't believe in this beast system. I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm just telling you just one example of how our people, are falling under this great mouth, speaking these things and blasphemies, are under mass mind control and don't even realize it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not I'm not capping for Trump now. But by the way, I do think Trump is hilarious. All right, I do. I ain't gonna deny that. And if you taking things at face value, then I actually would have preferred him to be president over Joe Biden any day. But it doesn't matter who's president, because they're going to push whatever doctrines, whatever philosophies, whatever system this beast want to push, he going to push no matter who's in president. That's all just, just for show anyway. So, we can talk about these things surface level, but on spiritual level, it don't matter who's president. I promise you, it don't. Because, Trump was the one that pushed the vaccines first anyways. Warp speed was, started by Trump. So people just try to act like Trump is just so against the system, but he ain't. All right. But anyways, that's just one of the many examples. I mean, I could take it to sports. You got people that say LeBron James is an all-time greater player than Michael Jordan, just because you got people like Shannon Sharp and Nick Wright and people like that say these things, and they just go by based on their feelings, man. Look, Revelation chapter 13 and 5 is not talking about Michael Jordan and LeBron James. I'm just giving an example of how our people can be under mind control and not realize it, and how the media could literally control your thoughts. And most people's thoughts are controlled by the media, and they have they don't have independent thoughts. They just think they do. Okay, but if you were to ask them, certain questions and ask them to break down their beliefs, they wouldn't really be able to do it. Okay. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months. So 42 months is the same time period as the times and dividing the times. Also 1,290 days. All right, we'll see that all throughout the scriptures is the same time period, which is 3.5 years, or 42 months. Okay, that's that time period of Esau's rulership before Yahushua comes back. And after that, it's a wrap. Okay, it's a wrap. Again, just to make this clear, when Yahushua comes back, or Christ, when he comes back, no one else will ever be in rulership again. Okay, and it's only set for one people. That's it. When you read in the quote unquote New Testament about the Gentiles and things like that, you read certain verses, it's not the verse that's confusing you. It's just your understanding of what's going on that's confusing you. It's not that the Old Testament and New Testament are saying two different things. They are not. It's just your understanding. Okay, if you're someone that is confused by that. That's all it is. It's very clear. Okay. So now let's go here. Let's go back to Revelation chapter 20. And it says, neither his image. So what is the image of the beast? Well, really, you can take it on 3 different levels here. You could say the image is not an actual physical image. It's just what the beast represents. Okay, the different doctrines, again, philosophies, so on and so forth, that this beast, this Roman Empire that we're in right now, or aka Babylonian Empire, all right, what it represents. You could say this is Caesar Borgia, okay? Or really, what I believe this image to be is this, the Virgin Mary. This is the image of the beast, okay? Why is that? Speaking of asking 10 so-called black people, question, I guarantee you, if you were to ask 10 Christians, which is really, you can almost just pick 10 people off the streets for the most part. If you were to ask them if Mary, which is quote unquote Jesus Christ's mother, if she's a virgin, you probably can ask 10 people and get 10 yeses. Most people believe in this Virgin Mary. That's how hard it's been pushed, and it's not been taught any other way in mostly any other church. I mean, you probably could ask 100 people and get, in the 90 percentile range of yes, yeah, Virgin Mary. Yeah, Mary is a virgin. She was born a virgin, or not born a virgin. She gave birth to Christ as a virgin. Okay. So this is really the image of the beast. And why do I say that? Well, the worship of the mother goddess goes back, the worship of the mother goddess goes back thousands of years. And when I say the mother goddess, what I mean by that is just how you have male pagan deities, you have quote unquote female pagan deities. And I put that in quotes because really, all the pagan deities, they could be male or female, really. They got male and female versions of all of them. But if you don't understand what that means, don't worry about it. I'm trying to stick on the topic here without going too deep. My point is that the Virgin Mary, all right, is really the pagan deity, the mother goddess, which is really just going back to the worship of Eve. All right, no matter what name she goes by. I mean, I probably could name a lot of them off the top of my head. I mean, in her whore version, whore archetype, she's Aphrodite. Then you also have all the virgin archetypes. You got Venus. You got, man, who else, man? It's a lot of different names that she goes by, and one of them is the Virgin Mary. Okay, and look, I'm not saying that just because when you Google, like I have here, Virgin Mary, she comes up as so-called white, because you got the Black Madonna too. Okay, it doesn't matter about her so-called color. All right, it's not about that. It's about what she truly represents, which is the Queen of Heaven. Okay, the Queen of Heaven is mentioned in the scriptures. It's the pagan deity on the left-hand side that has been, has been worshipped for thousands of years. I went more into that in the breakdown I did of if if Mary was a virgin or not. I forgot what I named that series. Essentially showing you that the quote unquote Virgin Mary, it goes back to the worship of the different mother goddesses throughout history. I'm trying to keep it vague, but at the same time, I feel like I'm not fully covering it. So I'll just link that if you want to check it out. If not, it is what it is. But it's no coincidence that you have the Queen of Heaven mentioned in the scriptures, and this also being a title given to the Virgin Mary. And the Virgin Mary is pushed on the people in the society so much, and you have Easter and all these different quote unquote holidays that are in commemoration of the quote unquote Queen of Heaven or Virgin Mary. Okay. But either way, the image is not anything that you will succumb yourself to, whether it's Caesar Borgia, the false image of Jesus Christ, whether it's what this beast stands for, or whether it's the mother goddess. You will not succumb to this if you follow the word. So either way, it doesn't matter. All right. So those that will sit upon the throne will not sit upon the throne per se, but that will be a part of this 1,000-year reign with Christ will not be a part of these things, will not worship the beast, neither his image, neither have received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. So what is the mark? So I'll tell you where I stand on this. I do believe that the mark of the beast is the RFID chip. I do believe that. However, if you want to say this is spiritual too, I mean, that's fine. That's fine with me. I mean, because in a certain standpoint, yeah, the mark could be you accepting this society or not. And I get that, but I do believe the RFID chip will be what's referred to here as the mark. And you see this in many different, let's go. I believe I had an article pulled up where, bear with me a second. I believe here we go. It says here, this company embeds microchips in its employees and they love it. And this was back in 2018, man. You're going to see this in a lot of corporate America here soon. more than likely. It says last August, 50 employees at 3 Square Market got RFID chips in their hands. Now 80 have them. You see that? So this little chip here is, is more than likely going to be what's going to be the difference between, you being able to purchase, like it says in Revelation, the 13th chapter, being able to buy or sell. All right, and this is a way that I see that it makes sense for the scriptures, because if it's just philosophies and it's just spiritual, well, how are you going to force that on all people, especially the small and the poor, like it says in Revelation, the 13th chapter? How can you really, push that on them, especially in those smaller countries? All right. So, yes, I believe the RFID chip is the mark of the beast. Okay. And again, on a spiritual level, I mean, I could see that. And I've heard brothers' breakdowns on it. And I've seen the precepts that they brought out. And that's cool and all. But again, it's RFID chip. Okay. All right. And this is what they're going to use. As you see here. Now look at this devil. This is who y'all trusted in for the vaccine. All right. When I say y'all, of course I'm joking, but I hope I hope it ain't you. I hope you ain't take that thing. But look, if you do, that's on you too. I ain't here to tell you what to do, but my goodness, who died and made this man the king of the vaccines? Look how he looking. It's ready to kill masses of people. Now, look, I mean, this dude, man, look at that bloodlust on his face. Anyways, Bill Gates declares everyone on Earth must prove their identity using his global digital ID system. Okay, so this is another way. All right, once they do away with the cash, which we know this will be a cashless society eventually, how are they going to keep up with all the different transactions? All right, how are they going to be able to, truly identify everyone? It's going to be with this digital ID, aka the RFID chip. Okay. Globalist billionaire Bill Gates has demanded nations of the world adopt his global solution for digital ID to force every single person on Earth to join his global digital ID system. In a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, Gates complained that there are hundreds of millions of people still left in the world who quote unquote lack ID that proves their identity. So the RFID chip is going to be able to identify yourself. You'll be able to make purchases and everything. And if you don't get it, because around this time when it rolls out, it's going to be more known, what's really going on in this world. So if you turn your back on it, you're going to be up for persecution in more than one way. But if not, you're going to be down with the beast. You're going to be down with the system. And ain't no telling, Bill Gates, he may have something directly to do with it. All right, in this lifetime, who knows? All right, only Lord knows. But, this is just some of the information that's floating out on there. Again, this isn't a Revelation chapter 13 breakdown. This isn't a, RFID chip or mark of the beast breakdown. But it's here, so I wanted to cover it briefly. But we can go into a lot more. But anyways, the whole point is, whether you believe in, that being spiritual or not, as long as you don't take RFID chip, if it's implemented globally, you should be good. So no need to debate that back and forth. All right, that's my perspective on it. All right, and if you don't accept his image, the beast's image and his mark, whether that's spiritual or physical, which I believe is physical, but if you do not, be a part of this society, then you won't have anything to worry about. When I say part of the society, no, I'm not saying you can't have a job and you can't make money. You should be doing those things. But We're supposed to be here physically, but not spiritually. You're not supposed to be believing in this place. You're not supposed to actually fall in love with America. All right. The Bible even tells you that America is a whore, a great whore. All right. Revelation, the 17th chapter, man. All right. This place is a whore. All right. And with a whore, you're supposed to be in and out. That's pretty much it. All right. That's how it is. It's like hiring a prostitute. Don't be the person that falls in love with the prostitute that is America. All right. But those that don't, what happens? It says, and they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. All right. So where we at on time? That'll be it for this part. And then we'll go into the 1,000-year rulership in part 2. Lord willing, this was edifying, going through verse 4. And that's pretty much it for now. I bid everyone a mighty shalom.